We're back with more the question and answer session, or as it's been dubbed by the community, After Dark. So start the captain's table After Dark, where we get a little risque with some asking questions from chat. It's always dangerous to take things from chat. So let's see if I can get to actually be visible. Yeah, there we go. So he's not super zoomed in here. There we go. Oh, no, it's just the cropping is off. That's all. All right, there we go. So if you missed our session with Nick and Axis talking about the resource rush, the good, bad, and the ugly, what's the real truth behind it? I'm knowing me, I'll probably put some really like the best event that's ever been run, just to kind of rage click some of that a little bit. So I'm sorry if you did click that a bit of raging, but like YouTube got a YouTube. But check that out. It's above Axis' head if you want to click on that. Again, I'm experimenting with some things here, and I've had some problems with this PC. So if you're watching this after the fact, you're definitely be watching the version that's been pulled from the stream. So if the quality is a little lower than usual, that's probably the reason. So with that all being said, let's jump right into the question and answers with the first question from Northern Trooper, who asks, do we know where the chief marketing officer is from? Locking the golem behind the Wicklow loot box feels like an EA move.
All right. I love to jump in on this one.
I'll go ahead. I'll just say this is nothing to do with marketing, but yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. I think, guys, Wicklow is an example of what they talked about when they talked about, what was it, the Insight Star Citizen, about like the ways they earn money. The design teams and the engineering teams have already stated there are going to be other non-UEC currency ways for obtaining items in the game. And Wicklow is an example of that. Now, I think what we've hit is that the experience of that it's awful. But I mean, you think about it, it's like most games, Monster Hunter, many that just immediately came to head. But like I guess I'd be curious, what's the difference in the community's mind between when we get crafting and this right now, outside of the way you turn it in and how you get it back? It's basically our crafting machine. It's just you just put it down and it spits out, and look what we get.
Yeah. I don't think this has anything to do with marketing. It's likely more. It has more to do with the. It has more to do with how the developers, for whatever reason, have decided to introduce like physicalized mechanics. Because fundamentally, I believe that who's ever in charge of this, and I think it's the economy dev, the guy who does the economy, I don't think he understands how players are motivated to get items. Like I said earlier in the first video, yeah. I am a mech fanatic. If there's a mech in a game, I'm going to learn how to use it. I'm going to collect all of them if I can, unless it's a mech game, then it's impossible to collect all of them unless it's physically possible. But I'm going to be gravitated towards exosuits and big stumpy robots. And there's no way I'm getting an ICTY with the requirements that they have for the ICTY. And the actual like adding of the golem to it, I feel like is a mistake, because like, why? It's a starter miner. Like,
yeah,
put a prospector in that loop instead and let people buy the starter miner on their own, and make the prospector have its big, beefy, like better mining heads, better equipment inside, all of that sort of thing. Because it's a golem. Like, it's such a weird thing to ask to do it. What it tells me is that whoever's in charge of the rotation for the Wicklow stuff just needs to reorient their position. They need to like sit down with fans and ask, what do you want in this loot pool? And you'll get a better understanding. Because everyone's going to say the Idris, the Polaris, but I mean, like, the ones you know are obvious. You would be surprised. People would probably want the F7A or the F8.
Yep.
People want the Gladiator. People would want the raft now. Oh yeah, people would love an upgraded raft for free. The SC2, I could, in that list, I
Mhm.
could see um, the Corsair was used. I think it was added to the list at some point. I know it's in the executive hangar list, but
They I haven't been paying attention to it, but did they update it so that when you get it, you earn the skin, or is it
you get the what?
like because it has the paint job, right? It has
Yeah.
the unique and but I've had enough people that have lost their ships between runs that they're just not doing anymore. I was curious if they were acknowledging to your account like, oh yeah, you still get this paint, but maybe they haven't.
For um,
The Wicklow ship
Wicklow Step
paints.
Step
I thought,
Defense. I
yeah.
don't. I know they might have. I don't know if it's locked to your account though. It might.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, no. It's. I don't. Yeah. Again. It's not a marketing move that it screams of a developer who doesn't understand how the game works.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, and I think they've done a good job. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm 100% with you guys that it does not make sense to build an ICTY with a raid loot uh item. That
Yeah.
just seems inefficient. But I do
Especially.
like the fact that it's not gotcha anymore. It's like this
Yes.
is that's a huge positive step
They
forward.
they haven't they have been listening and they have improved it. So I'll give
Yeah.
them their flowers for that. I'll give them the bonuses. The next step is stop making some like really small things super
Yeah.
expensive and change out the pool for something else like what's the ship that recently came out that's like a
Pulse.
the pulse. Well, I guess the pulse, but like that would still it still wouldn't require it shouldn't require a ton of work for the pulse. The uh meteor,
Golem.
the meteor, the meteor should have been
Yeah.
in that pool. They have a
Yep.
golem now, but I don't like the idea it's a golem because it's a starter binder. But if they put the meteor in instead of the golem or the misc fortune, like those would be great additions because they're more recent and they actually have some value. They're sort of starter-ish or they're in the kind of that medium tier, but upgraded for all those, yeah, that'd be great. So yeah. All right, let's move on. Iris Dreadtide asks, do you think the problems associated with this event are malice or incompetence? Which is worse?
It is neither.
Either.
Neither.
I think it's like I said, it's a stress test. They're it yeah. Yeah, it's a stress test. That it now did they find the most intuitive way to force us that? I think as we talked about on the show before, this has demonstrated we are probably at that razor edge of like not cool
Yeah.
to okay, we played it, but yeah, this is neither of those.
The frustrating part about it is more that CIG actually made an event that's intriguing, and there's lots of elements of it which are fun. We talked about that in the last one. Things like the asymmetrical nature, so you don't have to like do mission 1, mission 2, mission 3, mission. So you can just do missions. There's lots of choices for it, and there's definitely problems. The fundamental problem with the freight elevators, but also the starting requirements, which is just stupid. The like penalizing group gameplay. We talked about all this. Go watch this in the other video if you missed it. So I don't think it's pure incompetence. I do think it's to a degree overzealousness. I think CIG probably overestimated what was actually working and what wasn't. And CIG did talk about how they had a strike team put together to fix it, and it was they worked like 2 weeks straight to try to fix these problems. And they did get some of the problems down, but there's still some fundamental issues that they're going to have to address. So, yeah. All right. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, do you think the abundance of abandoned rafts should disqualify it from Best in Show? They're as bad as Asian lady beetles. Oh, God. They're like freaking cicadas when they come out of their 1,000-year or 100-year molting or whatever. So, Uh,
I see your point. I mean, I hope the Raft's probably going to win anyways. But yeah, I think it's funny that you should put out like a PSA of like friends
But they
don't just
make
leave their
good
Rafts.
bait.
yeah, clean up, please.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Stanton. Clean up your rafts.
There is a good thing about cicadas and rafts. They make good bait.
Yeah.
One for fish, the other for pirates.
What should the one lesson I think CIG could pull from that is to please prioritize hauling or towing missions, please.
Yeah.
Please, that's just one of those things where so SRVs can actually have something to do, and then it would allow for like generating missions around like abandoned ships, so you could just have a list of abandoned ships you could tow to a specific location. So,
You're dead right, because they could probably just reuse the bounty system and
Yeah.
just change the flag.
Yep. And just say bring X to Y, and just change it to a delivery
There
mission.
would be two versions, legal and illegal.
Yeah.
Bounties are on these towing missions. Illegal tow would be somebody go do a mission
Stealing something.
and
Yeah.
a timer, or somebody hires you. Hey, I want that.
But for a simple solution, it's just a legal tow of just like, this is a ship that's been abandoned. We've registered it as abandoned. It hasn't been around for a while, or like there's no players around, and we need you to pick it up. Not even just like deliver it somewhere, just pick it up. And so the second you pick it up and move it a certain places away, you can drop it.
Yeah, and then they could just clean up that one little area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The second that they're out of that area and they have it, they can either
Despawn it.
they despawn it, or they have a timer for it so it despawns faster. So
I mean, you wouldn't even have to stick around for the pickup ship. Say, give a designated spot, drop it off.
well, I mean, some people will.
No, we're not salvaging it. We're just chucking it into the sun.
Yeah, well, some people will want to salvage it, so you probably want to have a timer associated with it. But all right. Next question comes from Moshferatu666. I love that name. Who asks, given where we are with Hurston, sure to win, who gets mad if they throw an XL cargo mission at distribution centers with larger boxes? Oh, for like the no,
To catch up.
I don't know if like I wish that was how the game worked, but I don't think CIG can like design, execute, and test and deliver a new mission for like distribution centers in a span of a couple of weeks.
There's no way Hurston doesn't win. Aren't they like, I mean, last I was on, I haven't played this weekend, they were like 90 million SCU ahead of everybody else.
Yes. They're last I checked, it was like they're at like 100 and like 80 million, and then Crusaders the next one up, and it's like 110 million. So
oh wow, we made a big jump. All right.
It's still they're closer, but then like you've got ArcCorp, which is like 80 million. So
yeah, exactly.
So like they're closing the gap, but like it's Hurston's gonna win, and there's a lot of reason for that. Microtech's at 119 million.
Yeah, I mean that's so many 4 SU boxes. No one's gonna do it.
Crusaders,
or rather, I challenge you. Yeah, exactly. Try it.
It's not gonna happen. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And
I feel bad for them.
It's funny because I think a lot of it is just twofold. One, the Hurston missions allowed you to go to locations where there were like 4 different pickups and drop-offs. And 2, people like the skins. I will die on this hill. I've said this many times before, but Star Citizen fans and gamers in general, obsession with the color black as the only color scheme they want is like, please,
yeah,
learn to like other colors than black, y'all. It's not a personality, okay?
yeah, black and gold, black and yellow, and you've got Test Squadron, like the biggest org in the
I will die on that hill. I don't care if you don't like it. That I say that you're unclassy if your favorite color is black. I don't care.
Sadly, I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm going to disagree with you guys.
It's fine.
That's-
I,
you know, we
I'm
can't
a
all have
Raiders
great taste.
fan. All right,
Access.
black and
Okay.
silver was the thing I wore a lot, and I even am like, no.
Packers, though, too. So
Yeah.
there is that, but nobody has that color scheme. Weird, but okay. I could see Microtech doing it, but
There's also don't even get me started on that. Microtech's skins should have been green. They should have been green and blue. They should have used the Microtech green. They would have looked a lot cooler, and they looked a lot different than the Crusader ones. So
Bruins.
yeah.
Looks like somebody mentions the Bruins.
All right, let's move on to the next
Yeah.
question. Sushi Bandit asks, what do each of the hosts' FPS loadouts look like? Let's start with you, Nick. Your go-tos.
So it depends, right? So I think Karna was for a while. They just nerfed that into the ground. I have actually been running around with a Gallant rifle. I noticed that was 3-tapping people at events, so we were using that. Always love C54, though the P8C I have found to be more reliable this patch when fighting other players.
Axis, what's your
For
FPS?
me,
loadout?
my armor of choice normally is the recon suit because it's lightweight.
Okay.
Stuff. But my weapon is he just mentioned it, the C54. But I'd like to get the sniper scope on it. You know, the 8 times or 16 times.
C54.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean
wow.
it,
I mean,
and
it
it
probably
just,
does. Yeah.
I mean it just because when I used to haunt the outposts, go in there and pick off the guys from, and then just go through their loot shit.
You have more patience than me. I hate the way that thing fires because it's a burst fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's SMGs. It's like wow. I use
It wasn't that. It was the AR4. Sorry. That was
the
the
AO4.
AR.
Okay, yeah. Okay. C54 is a full auto SMG. What's the one that's it's that same company, but they use burst fire a lot. I think it's C54. Okay. You mean the P4?
P4.
A P4. Okay.
Yeah.
The P4 is P4 SC. My standard loadout is I forget the names of the armor. I think it's the Lynx arms and legs, and then it's the cowboy skull helmet. The I can't remember the name of that one, but that's the one that's the heavy one. And then the chest piece is the Mazarov, the old school Mazarov, none of the new ones. The old like camo Mazarov chest piece, that super heavy one. And then the weapon is Custodian. Day in, day out, I am a Custodian main because I live and breathe Kastak when it comes to those weapons. I love their weapons, and the Custodian is so easy to find ammo for. It's damaging. It's never really been nerfed. And even if you do nerf it, its rate of fire is so insane that if I'm within close range, I can probably take somebody out before they can take me out. And
Now
it's
that was my main gun, the AR4. But my heavy weapon, I'm sure everybody has it. For me, it's the grenade launcher with a longer range scope, so I can aim further.
Oh, you can put a scope on the grenade launchers? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can to a certain degree. I don't think it's the bigger ones.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me with that, Nick. I think some of them can.
Oh, I
Fit
haven't
on
used
it?
a grenade launcher in a very long time. Once they nerfed that thing,
Yeah.
I was like, well, all right.
I mean, it's good for crowd dispersal from a distance.
I
Not
never
at close.
I never use heavy weapons. I know I know people who use the rail rifle, the railgun, like religiously, but like and you don't get me wrong, when it's time to use the railgun, I'm glad that they're in my group because it's like, oh, thank God, we needed a railgun. But I also know that thing is so expensive to keep because you have to like raid so many places to get access to it. Hathor, you basically have to get to find it. You have to go to these places, and then to get ammo, you have to go to those places. You can't buy them anywhere, so it's one of those. Once you lost the ammo, you're done. So unless it's equipped, if it's in your backpack, you die. Like you just lost an hour of work. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. Cody Fox 00 asks, I saw there was a panel at Quantum Vegas where people made up missions that included ground vehicles, but CIG still hasn't done much to make ground vehicles relevant. What do you think is the main holdup and how to fix it? That was a great one. As a judge for that one, I really like that one.
Shout out to the crews that made those missions because they like
Those are
feel
great.
behind the scenes. We were super worried that the community wasn't going to enjoy that. That was when I was like, oh God, we really hope this plays out. But man, the amount of effort people put into that. I mean, given you can still fall through a planet, I think that there's a lot of work for their I forget the term, but essentially like how they know that you're on the ground. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Mission planning, yeah.
I also think like ArtCorp. So actually, the winning mission where we're talking about was that like somebody came up with something that said, "Hey, they give us a city block or the underbelly of ArtCorp, and so you can only really get in there with a vehicle."
Yeah.
I think that would be really super cool. I think that it's probably just they've got all these other things they're trying to work on.
Yeah, the if you've tried driving anything recently, you'll probably notice that the suspension is awful. There is the driving mechanics feel floaty and bad, and they don't grip properly. And there's a lot of problems with how driving currently works. And CIG, at least in recent past, talked about this specifically and how they wanted to fix ground vehicle physics and how those work. But I can guarantee you, the team that was going to work on that is also working on flight mechanics, and with flight mechanics being a priority for Squadron, and we don't know how much ground stuff's going to happen for Squadron, they're working the flight mechanics, improving the flight mechanics before they do the ground vehicles. And maybe they have done all this stuff in the ground vehicles because CIG's done a lot of stuff in the background that we haven't seen. It's just not come forward because they haven't had enough time or people to test it out to make sure it works. So
yeah, we're gonna get some really cool boat physics.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So the question was basically like, what do you think? What's the main holdup? And it's just the rework of how vehicles work. That's what it is. Yeah. Tanks should not be sliding like it's ice skating. You shouldn't be able to drift a tank like you do.
No.
There's too much. There's not enough weight, and so that may also be Maelstrom, because we know Maelstrom's going to add a lot of those physics and gameplay stuff into it. All right. Next question comes from Chris from YouTube, who asks, did CIG genuinely just forgot that distribution centers exist? Never mind, they don't exist for some corps, but the game isn't fair for everyone as ArtCorp has fewer moons anyway. I believe there's a distribution center for every moon, or not every moon, every planet. Even because I think there's distribution centers on moons. Maybe Crusader doesn't have one.
So I think if the question is no, I think all of them have it. But if I recall, aren't each distribution center tied to a secondary manufacturer?
Sometimes they are, yeah. So
yeah, so I think it was. I mean, maybe it was a lore reason that like it was only the big four that were fighting each other for resources. It wasn't the secondary or tertiary companies that own the distribution centers that were involved. That could have probably been an added layer, but it was very easy to be like, okay, these missions and these areas connect to these people. Because it wasn't like you had a Hurston mission outside of Hurston.
Yeah. All the ArtCorp missions were at ArtCorp mining centers. And
yeah.
I don't know about the Crusaders ones. I think the Crusader ones were not at Crusader locations.
Neymar and Selen where they were mostly at.
But they weren't like there's no Crusader like facility.
No, yeah, you're right.
So.
Yeah, and actually that probably we missed the opportunity for some floating areas. Platforms. That would have been cool.
They had those, so like they could have brought those back. So yeah. some people are saying it's only Hurston and Microtech that have distribution centers. Okay, but still, even adding those into the mix would be nice because you could still do a mission for another manufacturer and go pick those up. But the question is basically, do they forget that they exist? Yes and no. I guarantee you that someone at CIG remembers that distribution centers exist. The problem is that they did develop distribution centers. All right, let me pull out the deep lore for this one. For people who remember the original representation of distribution centers, they were not called distribution centers. They were called underground facilities, or UGFs.
Yeah.
4.3, we're getting UGFs. But they have nothing to do with distribution centers. So what they did is they took distribution centers and they removed them to their own thing. And they took UGS and made them their own thing. So now there's a UGF and there's a distribution center. They're two different things. And the way that they're describing what we now know as distribution centers was basically like they were a sort of side mission place which were connected to the UGFs, where the main missions were in the UGFs, and the distribution center was sort of like the staging area for the UGFs. There were some things they wanted to do, but then they just split them off. They're like, oh, we'll do distribution center raids, and those never seemed to work. The reality is that DCs probably need another pass in terms of gameplay, but
Right.
they're fine. They do what they do. They do what they're designed to do, but for whatever reason, they got backfired. Go ahead.
Like I've told Paul, told you before, Paul. I think they can be further developed into community towns.
Yeah.
Because, like in lore, Hurston has settlement on its surface, and these UGFs, the ones that already exist, could easily be renamed, like after names of people, Hurstons, like Port something or something like that, scattered around the planet.
They could, and I agree that those. Well, we talked about this a long time ago. Those seem to be like the perfect spot for, I think, when CIG develops base building a little bit more, to take the base building tech and then apply the tools they did for base building with distribution centers. So there should be like a sprawling towns around the distribution centers where all of the people who work in distribution centers live. So these sort of the company town situation.
Company town, yeah, exactly.
And so you can have like trading posts, stuff like that around it. So you have like a little boom town, as it were.
Because look at Hurston, and then compare it to something IRL like New York City. You have the main megapolis in the middle, and then you have suburbs and exurbs around it.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that around.
No.
We need to have a web of smaller communities around it. Yeah, we don't. And Lorville, I don't even know what they said the population is. It has to be over 1 million. It's a big city alone.
Yeah. And you'd also see things like, we need something like distribution centers on places like ArtCorp, even if they're not specifically distribution centers we have now. So there's a lot of things.
They can be in buildings.
Yeah,
they can use the tech in the buildings to make an Area 50 or a 60 or whatever. There's so many buildings, so many unused buildings, and they can add tertiary areas like a landing zone, mini landing zone, like a large,
like the ones we see in like we see in Pyro. Those trench ones.
Landing platforms.
Yeah.
Orson landing.
That too. I know you have to head out here soon, Axis. So just let me know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You need to head out, or you need to stick around a little longer.
Yeah, it's getting a little late here, Paul.
It's okay. Thank you for joining us.
I just wanted to add to that because it was a good ad.
That is your thing. I'd like you're the first person who brought up the idea that I know of that brought up that there should be company towns. And I was like, oh yeah, I think there's even a short on this channel or one of my channels about that. So, all right, thank you to Axis for joining us. Make sure you check out Axis. We'll still be going for a little bit longer, but Axis has got to run off to do with Bar Citizen. So,
I apologize, guys, but duty calls.
Thank you for hanging out, bud.
07, guys.
All right, so. We've got next question comes from TK Rex, who asks, it seems highly unlikely that CIG will be able to do cooperative zones without griefing or PvP breaking out constantly. What solutions do you think they would need to implement to make it possible? I know the answer, but I'm interested to hear what Nick thinks.
Factions. Like I said, I'm a huge proponent of if you do your faction system correctly, where you reward working together and you punish when you hurt each other within the same group. That would be, and I would put two groups together so you have the internal conflict without that separate or without having to fight each other. That would be one. The other thing is, and I'll be curious to see, I'm assuming that there's going to be like multiple paths and you have to do things on different paths in order to work together. So I think like spreading out what you need to do would be another way. But again, factions.
The answer that I have is going to sound almost insulting, but instancing. Like I
know.
I call the cooperative zones cope zones, not because I think that they're a bad idea, but because I think CIG is coping if they think people are going to cooperate in these places. Like if there is a place where players can interact, someone is going to want to pee in someone's cereal. Someone's going to want to mess something up. Even if you like removed guns so people couldn't shoot each other, like an armistice zone, you would still have people doing awful things to each other. Like right now, people taking like beating people with cargo to like get them to stop doing cargo stuff. So in order for the idea of cooperative zones to exist, they need to have instancing. And I agree, factions also, because then you have faction reputation and that sort of thing that would start mattering. So players would be less inclined to attack another person if they're in the same faction as them and those sorts of things. So
yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like and I'm just closing my door for a second because
sure.
My youngest is starting to wake up a little bit. I see. I mean, instancing will probably have to be, and I would say what I'm concerned about with instancing is that when you make a game like they are, where resources are going to be one of the main loops that you have to be involved in, and then it's a strong balance between, like we've talked about before, resources in raid bosses that just don't make sense, and then I think we're going to now create another thing they have to think about, which is resources within instance capability, because these things are going to be things that just become instantly farmed. I would, but I mean, I think to your point, like, but if there's one more thing that I think they need to do, and they haven't been doing it just yet, but I was really excited to see them throw that hammer down for all those cheaters. We need to get to some form of community moderation. Like, I mean, look, half of the cargo factories, and I even saw it on your show, like you're trying to get in there and somebody has thrown the cart down it so that you can't get up there. Like that stuff needs to be punished. Like there's a point of like, all right, is this a game loop we want to inform and allow people to do? Or are you just being a straight up dick? And I guess you could be like 3 strikes, you're out kind of thing. It's not instant, but I think that's the hammer that I would like to see, because like the community spends a lot of time trying to figure out what is a toxic player, what's a griefer, what's a PvPer. And I think if as a PvPer, I would really like to see them put more material in so that PvP isn't looked so poorly on, because so many people just tie it to griefing. And it's like, no, griefing is the people that are doing this stuff, that are pad ramming you, that are like hitting you with boxes, like that kind of stuff. Like that stuff's got to stop.
Yeah, no, as I've always said, that the problem with PvP and Star Citizen is that fundamentally PvPers want to fight, but there's no incentive for PvPers to fight other PvPers. It's just to mess other people up. And so the second you have an incentive to fight other people who want to fight, they'll do that. It's just a matter of like incentivization, which is, I say CIG has a problem with player psychology often. I think they don't really understand how players think, or even their players think. And there may be people at CIG who do know that. They just aren't being listened to. And I think that's the kind of stuff. So no, they won't, Paul. Yeah, they will. Absolutely. If you say, hey, here's this location that's PvP, you're going to go fight for it, and if you do this, you'll get a reward, people will go fight for it.
Yeah. You have to incentivize the behavior you want. And Paul's
Yeah.
right. Like the psychology of this is that's why I mean that's why I keep saying we were just in a giant stress test. They incentivized us to move. I mean, if you think about it, right? Like 170 million, let's say we did about 200 million, 50, what, 500,000 boxes at 4SU, if I did my math real quick off the napkin. The community moved 500,000 4SU boxes. That is awful. Because that is like, if you think about how much time people spend on that, and that was, they need to really figure out that incentivization. But I will also say PvP is not griefing. Like that's, we as a community need to not tie to that. I can understand where people think it's toxic, totally fair. But like when you have people that are pad ramming Hull C's, and you have people like that were putting med pens in the freight elevators to break them intentionally, that's griefing, guys.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that like I think we can all agree that stuff has to stop.
Yeah.
PvP, like there are plenty of times that like, and I know we've got a number of PvPers in Twitch streams. You watch, like they call you up, they ask you to sing a song, do it, like we find ways of making it fun. But yeah, it's not grieving.
There are ways that they can do this, and like my perspective is, I've always had the perspective that Pyro is just giant PvP zone, and I'm okay with that. Like factions would help that as well, because if you have factions where you know somebody's in a faction and they show up and you accidentally try to pirate them, you might go, I shouldn't do this. This person is in my faction and I'm going to get a faction hit if I do this. So
Yeah.
it's all about rewards.
Incentivizing. Yeah, rewards, exactly.
You need to have the carrot for players, and you need to teach your, this is going to sound weird, but from a teacher, teach players how to play your game. You have to teach them how to, even if it's an open world game or a sandbox game. You have to teach them the tools, you have to teach them the boundaries, the limitations, and a lot of that is going to, as much as I hate to say this because I know a lot of people don't like this, it requires some handholding. You gotta shape somebody into idea of this is what the game's going to be like. These are the things you can do, and then let them go and do what they want. But you need that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the moment killing your own team prevents you from the nice new skin, no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to be, again, a griefer.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is from Kevin Jacaro, who asks, do you think event highlights the requirement for other mission types like legal towing to remove ships from landing areas that have been left too long, but only if it's like within 5 to 10 kilometers of landing area? Yeah, we just said yes. Aw, it's a baby at night.
Yeah, it's my co-pilot, right? Getting them ready. This is really how we make teammates.
Yes.
Right.
This is how we get crew. All right. So Captain Jacare, we literally said that. Yes, 100%. Cody Fox 00 asks, I've noticed people getting more and more annoyed about stuff they want going to Wicklow. Do you think CIG will need to fast track crafting a bit, or will they band-aid the complaints by introducing Wicklow's cousin Trickolo? I think the problem with Wicklow is more CIG's learning how to and not to use them, and I think we've beaten this already to death. We talked about Wicklow earlier. So, do you have anything else to add about Wicklow? Things that might be changed?
No, I mean, I think, well, they've changed it in the sense that now we have actual things that it's no randomized,
yeah.
But crafting, yes. I want crafting ASAP. So yes, we need crafting.
Yeah. I do think that CIG is focusing on it too. So, all right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 questions left. Next question comes from Enkitsune, who asks, I noticed the Polaris is getting 4 times the BIS entries than other combat ships in the community. Tell us why the Polaris won't win, unless you think it will. I'm surprised it's the Polaris. Now, there is some aspect that I have heard that may or may not be able to function, which is, remember that you get a free flight. So with free flight, you will get access to one of the best in show winners. So I don't see CIG doing the Idris, for instance. There's no way the Idris can get a free flight, because then could you imagine 600 people with an Idris?
Yeah, the Idris I think got banned, which I actually think is why the Polaris has so many. I think that's the community being very angry the Idris isn't in there. I don't see how the Polaris doesn't win because you can't get the Idris.
Yeah, so that's just one of those things going to happen. So, the only thing that I'm hoping for, which is still not manifested fully yet, is the Gladiator. I want the Gladiator to win.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that want the Gladiator to win. I think there is something to be said that we could probably weaponize the Best in Show to fix the ships that have been around for a very long time.
Why do you think I that's what I'm specialized at. I did that with the Argo, the MDUV.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tried to do it with the Great Cat with the ST or the PTV, and they've went from being, oh, we're going to fix it for the paint system, to completely reworking it. So, but yeah, I want to see the 85X and the Gladiator, because they have gotten a little. Why not the Aurora or other Kickstarter ships? Until CIG they've removed the Aurora from the starter ship lineup. So until CIG makes their own categories and gives them their own little special something. I will die on this hill. I think the Gladiator is one of the best. Once it gets bombs added to it, because it can't hold the bombs now, but once it gets the size 4 bombs, it will be the best ground attack ship in the game. It can fit on a carrier. It has torpedoes for larger ships if it needs to. It has a lot of firepower if you want to use it to fight. And then it has missiles and or swap it out for bombs so you can do ground attack. So for a tiny package, it's got and it's right now it's buffed to hell and back. It's absolutely tanky. It's hard to kill that thing. So, all right. I know Nick is muted a little bit here and there because he's got children we can see running around in the background.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're up, but no, they're good.
Okay.
I'm incentivizing my oldest to play tag with the youngest for some Skittles. So
there we go.
We'll see
he's incentivizing PvP. So, all right. Axis, who just left, asked, "What new events could be affected by the outcome of this event?"
So I've heard an interesting theory that this whole thing is leading up to Death of a Spaceman.
It's the what?
This whole process is leading up to them implementing the Death of a Spaceman.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. 100%. But my theory is that the regen crisis is a way for them to introduce the IVS system, which allows for players to naturally figure out what the heck Death of a Spaceman is, because so many people just don't know.
Yeah, agree. I think that's there's a huge opportunity to do that. The other thing that would be really interesting is we're gathering all of this material because we're going to have to build something. I would have done this again with like medical related supplies, and then that could lead into Jump Town, whatever. Because it's if we've got all this medical material, chances are we can probably make drugs out of it. So,
the only other thing I can think of that might have affect the outcome because of the event is this is my personal hope, because Hurston's so far ahead and it's almost certain that Hurston's going to win, is that what would Hurston do? What would be the thing that Hurston would do after they win, specifically to offset the costs of giving everyone a 5% discount? I've heard this kicking around the community a little bit, which is, well, they're going to take over the space station in front of Pyro, right? Well, start charging tolls, either to go through the jump point or to land at the station. Then you now have fees, and to introduce those fees to the game by Hurston being jerks. So everyone is like, but I didn't want this. And it's like, did you not pay attention to Hurston? It's like, well, we don't know the lore. It's like, did you not go to Loreville? Did you not look how awful people live in Loreville? Did you not hear it from the jerk who's the mission giver?
Yeah. the group that developed the life contract that most of their employees work off of is the one that's figuring out how to keep them from dying. That makes sense.
Yeah. They don't want them to die because they want them to live longer so they can work more.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they're making it. They're
Yeah.
2x the life expectancy now.
They don't have to hire as many people. So yeah, I'd like to see that as a nice little introduction. So actions have consequences. I'd love to see that happen. Shadowstalker asks, with the addition of the Volt weapons, do you think this is an indication that CIG is willing to experiment with new weapons / damage types for man-portable weapons? Oh yeah. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all kinds of. I mean, we've got now radiation. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a rad gun or something. Yeah, just tons of things they could do with this now. I'm really excited to see them try different ammunition types, elemental types. Though, granted, like I do feel bad. I was in a Facebook group for Star Citizen, and this guy was like, "Hey, I bought this thing on some third-party site. When am I going to be able to use it?" And it was the baton and the handcuffs, and it was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to see that for a while."
Yeah. I think I'd love to see freeze weapons. I'm a big fan of those, like the Cryolator, Fallout 4, like sort of like I love those things. And of course, everyone's favorite, which we still need to have, a flamethrower. We need to have some sort of flame weapon. So cool. I don't know if you could get earth weapons. That'd be a little weird to like fire rocks at people, but you know, who knows? Introduce FPS gadgets. Yes, I for one would love to see turrets, deployable turrets, and drones. You know, drones that are either combat drones or recon drones.
Oh, drones would be so cool. Yeah.
And I'm not saying like automated drones. I'm saying someone has to control them. But like that would be a nice little. There's plenty of people who are decent at flight and those sorts of things, but they're not really good for FPS. That would immediately gravitate towards, yeah, give me a drone and I'll spot people for you. So, all right. Next question comes from Idiocracy 2025, who asks, do you think the complaints revolving around every sandbox activity is a bit overblown? My experience, I don't see it as have been able to complete all major activities solo. I don't see it as have been able. So they were able to do all of them solo.
Solo versus group play. Got it.
Yeah, I think in general, like the question is, are people being too harsh on these activities? And I say, yeah. I think a lot of people are upset at them. I think the biggest problem comes down to the fact that most people know that whatever sandbox activity they're about to introduce, whatever like unique element that's going to be part of it, is going to end up being the thing you need to get for Wicklow. And nobody likes that. Nobody wants that whole thing. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that, 100%.
So, I think in general, yes, it is overblown, and I have been through all of them. I like all of them. They're all fun, and they all the lore guy and the story guy. So, all of the like story elements that are brought into it are great. Like, for those of you who don't know, there are audio logs that you can pick up in Stormbreaker. There's a full-blown story of the fall of Hathor in the Hathor systems in A Line of Mine. And there are a lot of like other elements with 4.3. I'm not going to spoil too much, but because it's an investigation mission, there's a lot of information you get from the mission itself. They can learn about stuff. So this is like a story element to all of these, which is neat. All right. Victoria asks, what is Nick at Night's favorite ship and why is it the Redeemer?
And what's not the Redeemer?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Victoria.
Yes. Thank you.
I actually have two favorite ships. One is the 85X, and I love that as a new introduction to players because it just makes everything feel cool and fast, and you're in this sleek thing. And then the other one for me is the Andromeda. That's the first ship I bought back in 2012.
Andromeda is a classic. It's funny. I was talking to Tyler at Quantum Vegas, and he's like, "Why does everyone like the Andromeda?" I'm like, Or it's a classic. Like, it's good because it kicks butt. It's versatile and it's iconic. Everyone has that thing. Everyone's seen
Everyone.
that thing.
I'm slightly saddened that they moved away from the nacelles being the big piece behind the RSI systems. But yeah, I love it. It's always going to be in my thing. Granted, I hope they fix it and not do like an MK2.
I want them to take the Space Doritos style that they've been doing and add nacelles to the Space Doritos. Because
Yeah, exactly.
those are great. The cells, the Utopia Planitia style with RSI is so fun. I always love that. So, all right. Next question comes from MPCDN, who asks, if CIG can add 100 new places with NPCs, why can we not have NPC ships flying around? With NPC and cargo would look great great for pirates. I will tell you the reason why, and it's because there's no such thing as a spawn closet for NPC ships. There are spawn closets for those events, those locations, and the actual like items in those locations aren't nearly as expensive as the as the NPCs that are walking around and stuff. So.
I have 2 seconds for you guys. He really wants to say hello to you all.
Okay.
All right. Go, Miller. Say hello. All right, buddy. You're complete with your brother.
We got two more questions. So
you're right. Spawn. Oh, you're fine. Spawn closets. Yeah. And I also think, I mean, the entity graphs need to improve where they can be tracking these things, because the ships are going to fly. Like right now, we don't really have any managed assets going between the relationship servers and the that type of management. So they need to probably improve that, and then we'll start seeing ships move. It's the same reason why we don't have a transport going between the hubs to the main space stations.
Yeah.
It just, I don't think they have the authority, like the authority graph and stuff is just not there yet.
I think that's a lot of that is also they're looking at the entities and they're looking at the performance hits, and so they're trying to figure out once they get the dynamic meshing in. I think we'll start seeing those in, because those can reduce the entity count significantly because of the way that they can shift the servers around, so that that way that the stress isn't as high on the servers, so they can like focus it, and that will allow them to build up those, because they've slowly been bringing NPCs back. Like they now stop you and scan you at Hurston stations. So like they're coming back slowly. It's just, and I even got pulled out of Quantum at one point from pirates. So like they do happen. It's just they're trying to bring everything back up to the 3.0 standard, which they still haven't done.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, when you rewrite the back end, you're right. All these things need to be fleshed out, which really sucks because everyone gets super angry. But it's like, well, guys, do you want more servers sharded with more players, or do you want the old system? Like that's just how it works, guys. Yeah.
All right, 2 more questions. Next is from Idiocracy, who asks, do you think complaints revolving around every sandbox activity being gated behind PvP are a bit overblown, as to date I have completed all of them? Oh, because there's the same question, but he says surrounding around PvP. Yes and no. Let me say this. Hathor is a PvP zone, as much as it's not really supposed to be. And so is Stormbreaker. Do I think Stormbreaker would be improved with non-PvP elements like instancing? Yes, for sure. But I also kind of like Stormbreaker being a little PvP, because it adds a little danger to it. I think the problem, as we said before, is a lot to do with just all of the resources from those being gated, being the gate that you need to get for all of the stuff for Wicklow, and it's kind of leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say Wicklow is I think the big issue. The other thing I was gonna say is like I often translate that question into, and I think they start asking like, I can't do this by myself, because if you have a big enough group, it's no longer you as an individual who might not want to participate in the PvP have to deal with it. Like I know Test and ADI, I'm gonna call out a bunch of big orgs, and Vanguard and any number of them, like when they do events and there's hundreds of people with them and they take over a server, you don't have PvP at that point. And even if you do, it's one person against like 8. It goes away very quickly. I think that there is a question of when these events are being put on, they're large community events. And so that's probably where individuals feel the PvP pain more. And I get that people don't like the answer of like, well, find an org, because that's one of the best things for it. But like, if you're expecting to be able to do all of this stuff just by yourself, I can see where it might feel like you're being forced into PvP.
No. So letting you know, Nick, the audio is being captured by the stream perfectly fine, but because of the thing that failed when I was trying to record, it makes it so you so it's like it's on it's only on my end when I'm previewing it, but everyone else can hear you fine. I don't know how that happened. So I picked up a little bit of that. But yeah, I what I picked up, I said, yeah, that's about right. And again, I think Star Citizen is a PvPV or PvX sort of experience. There's going to be PvP in there. It just needs to feel like the PvP is in a right position where people who feel like they should be experiencing PvP will experience it. I think a perfect example of that is Contested Zones. Contested Zones is like you're going in, you're gonna fight other players. They're gonna show up. So you're just like, okay, I am mentally prepared to start fighting other players if I need to. So.
Yeah, and I would love for them to add more. Like, I think one of the best things that they could take, and Eve did this a while ago. Like, when I first played Eve, I would get destroyed in nullsec, and then they added the faction territories, and I feel like that was the right on ramp for people to want to play PvP. And I definitely think Star Citizen would benefit from faction versus faction, player versus player content.
Yeah. All right, the last question is from Captain Purik, who asks, do we think CIG will take this opportunity to concentrate on fixing the freight elevator tech, or they will move on to 4.3?
No. And the only reason why I say no is because like the development cycle of these patches, like they're already probably have early builds of 4.4 and 4.5 and all the other things. Like, especially with these back-end systems versus front-end systems, they can run them in parallel. What I do hope, and we've talked about this in the show, is that there is enough data points now that they should be able to make some significant improvements in the back-end systems so that we don't run into these problems as much.
Yeah. And there's probably at least some immediate fixes that they could implement with 4.3 that they probably have done. And CIG has said before 4.2.1 gone out that they're taking 4.2.1, 3.0, and 3.1 as their patches to fix the problems. So they are looking at freight elevator issues in the next 3 patches. So between they start in July, going into October, or start in June, then go to July, then August and September. So like by October, they should have some sort of, my guess would be something like we have with the elevators, where it's not perfect and it still messes up a few times, but it's gonna work most of the time if you do it. And that's, I think, what most people want is just a reliable 80% success rate. It was better than what we have right now, which is often 50%. So
yeah, well, and I would really like if CIG came back out and said, hey, this is, I'd love to see the metrics, right? I'm definitely a data and a numbers guy.
I love that
so
too. So
this is how many boxes people did. Hey, by the way, guys, this is the number of boxes we saw pull up that never got put down. So we know that people lost it. Like, and then like, here's the things that we found out of it. Like, that would be so interesting of like, man, we have 5 or 6 different bugs or like paths to fixing this thing that we identified because of all the stuff you guys did. Like, that I think would be a good way to end this so that we know that the effort translated into actionable outcomes.
Yeah, I don't think they've done a post-mortem in a while. I'd love to see more of these post-mortems. I think they're hopping too quick to be able to sit down and talk about these post-mortems, but
yeah,
that's definitely for these events. I think that'd be a cool thing to have. So
yes, exactly.
Well, that's the last question. Thank you all for for joining us who are watching us. Thank you to Nick, and thank you to Axis, who had to leave a little early. Make sure you check out Nick's organization, International Bar Citizen, barcitizen.sc, one of the many folks who works at Bar Citizen SC. And check out Axis. It's Axis0096 on every social media and streaming and video platform if you want to check that out. If you enjoyed this, please hit that follow button if you're on Twitch. Hit the subscribe button if you're off on YouTube. And if you're watching this after the fact, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to be notified when these release, and tell me your own thoughts down below in the comments. We do this live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So I'd love to have you come join us live, twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/@the podcast to talk more about Star Citizen. Thank you for joining us. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday